Story 1. The Mysterious Manor. The legend of Hollow Woods was one that the villagers of Eastwick had whispered to their children for generations. It was said that the woods were a place where the living dared not venture, for the spirits of the damned roamed freely. At the heart of these woods stood an old, abandoned manor, enveloped in an eternal shroud of mist. The manor was a decrepit relic of a bygone era, its once grand facade now withered and crumbling under the weight of time. Jake, a teenager with an insatiable curiosity for the unknown, had always been drawn to the stories of the Hollow Woods. His friends often teased him for his fascination with the supernatural, but Jake's curiosity was not easily swayed. One stormy night, as rain lashed against his bedroom window and lightning split the sky, Jake made a decision. He would finally explore the Hollow Woods and uncover the secrets of the mysterious manor. Armed with a flashlight, a notebook, and a sense of determination, Jake set out for the woods. The journey was arduous, with the storm making the path treacherous. The trees loomed like sinister sentinels, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. As he ventured deeper, the temperature plummeted, and an eerie silence enveloped him. It was as if the woods themselves were holding their breath, waiting for his next move. After what felt like hours, Jake finally arrived at the manor. The sight of the decaying structure sent a shiver down his spine. The windows were shattered, the doors hanging precariously on their hinges. Ivy had claimed the walls, and the once manicured gardens were now a tangled mess of weeds. With a deep breath, Jake pushed open the creaking front door and stepped inside. The interior of the manor was a labyrinth of shadows and echoes. Dust motes danced in the air, illuminated by the flickering beam of Jake's flashlight. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the floorboards groaned underfoot. As he explored, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Whispers seemed to emanate from the very walls, growing louder and more insistent with each step he took. In one of the upstairs bedrooms, Jake stumbled upon a dusty old diary. Its leather cover was cracked and worn, and the pages were yellowed with age. The diary belonged to a girl named Eliza, who had vanished a century ago under mysterious circumstances. Intrigued, Jake sat down and began to read. Eliza's diary painted a vivid picture of life in the manor before its fall into ruin. She described a family torn apart by tragedy and betrayal, with secrets buried deep within the walls. The final entry, dated the night of her disappearance, was chillingly cryptic. Eliza wrote of a dark presence that had infiltrated the manor, an evil force that sought to claim her soul. As Jake read the last words, he felt a sudden chill in the air. The temperature dropped further, and the room was plunged into darkness as his flashlight flickered and died. In the oppressive silence, he heard the unmistakable sound of a cold hand brushing against his shoulder. Panic surged through him, and he fumbled to relight the candle he had brought for just such an occasion. The dim glow of the candle revealed a shadowy figure standing in the corner of the room. The figure's eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and it seemed to hover just above the floor. Jake's heart pounded in his chest as the figure began to move toward him. Summoning every ounce of courage, he held the candle aloft and demanded to know who or what the figure was. The figure's voice was a whisper, barely audible above the howling wind outside. It spoke of a curse that had befallen the manor and its inhabitants, a curse that had bound Eliza's spirit to the place for eternity. The figure revealed itself to be Eliza, her soul trapped in a liminal state between life and death. She pleaded with Jake to help her break the curse and free her from the manor's grasp. Jake agreed to help, and Eliza guided him through the manor, revealing hidden passages and secret rooms that held the key to breaking the curse. They discovered that the curse had been cast by a vengeful sorcerer who had been wronged by Eliza's family. The sorcerer's dark magic had bound Eliza's spirit and those of her family to the manor, condemning them to an eternity of suffering. To break the curse, Jake needed to find a series of ancient relics hidden throughout the manor. These relics, when combined, would create a powerful talisman capable of dispelling the sorcerer's magic. With Eliza's guidance, Jake set out to find the relics, each one guarded by malevolent spirits and deadly traps. The first relic was a tarnished silver pendant, hidden in the attic. The attic was a maze of forgotten treasures and cobwebs, and Jake had to navigate carefully to avoid disturbing the restless spirits that lurked there. After a harrowing search, he finally found the pendant, but not before a shadowy figure lunged at him from the darkness. With Eliza's help, he managed to fend off the spirit and escape the attic unscathed. The second relic was a brass key, hidden in the library. The library was a grand room filled with towering bookshelves and ancient tomes. As Jake searched for the key, the books seemed to come to life, their pages rustling and their covers snapping shut with a deafening thud. He eventually found the key hidden inside a hollowed-out book, but the moment he touched it, the shelves began to collapse, threatening to bury him alive. Eliza's spirit guided him to safety, and he narrowly escaped the collapsing room. The third relic was a ruby-encrusted dagger, hidden in the basement. The basement was a dark, damp place filled with the stench of decay. Jake had to wade through waist-deep water, avoiding the grasping hands of the drowned spirits that lingered there. He finally found the dagger embedded in the wall, but as he pulled it free, the water began to rise rapidly, threatening to drown him. Eliza's spirit created a protective barrier around him, allowing him to escape the basement just in time. With the three relics in hand, Jake returned to the main hall of the manor. Eliza's spirit instructed him on how to combine the relics to create the talisman. As he followed her instructions, a powerful surge of energy coursed through the room. The air crackled with electricity, and the walls of the manor seemed to shudder under the force of the magic. The sorcerer's spirit, sensing that his curse was about to be broken, appeared before Jake and Eliza. He was a towering figure, wreathed in darkness and malice. He taunted them, insisting that the curse could never be broken and that they would suffer for eternity. But Jake, fueled by his determination to free Eliza, stood his ground. With the completed talisman in hand, Jake recited the incantation that Eliza had taught him. The sorcerer screamed in rage as the talisman's power enveloped him, banishing him to the void from whence he came. As the sorcerer disappeared, the manor began to crumble, the walls collapsing and the floors splitting open. Eliza's spirit, now freed from the curse, smiled at Jake. She thanked him for his bravery and compassion, and with a final whisper of gratitude, she faded into the night. The manor, its dark history finally put to rest, collapsed into ruins, leaving nothing but a pile of rubble. Jake emerged from the hollow woods, forever changed by his experience. He carried with him the memory of Eliza's gratitude and the knowledge that he had freed her from a century of torment. Though the manor was gone, its legend would live on, and Jake would be the one to share the tale of the mysterious manor and the brave teenager who dared to explore its haunted halls. Story 2: The Cursed Locket. Weeks had passed since Jake's mysterious disappearance in the hollow woods, and his friends and family were left with more questions than answers. Among them was Lily, Jake's closest friend, who couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible had happened to him. The village of Eastwick buzzed with rumors, and the legend of the cursed manor loomed larger than ever in the collective imagination of the townspeople. Lily was determined to find out what had become of Jake. She felt a sense of responsibility, knowing that Jake had always been fascinated by the supernatural, and that his curiosity had likely led him to the manor. Armed with a mixture of hope and dread, Lily retraced Jake's steps to the manor one overcast afternoon. The air was thick with an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant call of a raven. Upon arriving at the manor, Lily felt a shiver run down her spine. The decaying structure seemed to emit a malevolent energy, as if it were aware of her presence. Steeling herself, she pushed open the creaking front door and stepped inside. The air inside was cold and musty, and the shadows seemed to cling to her like an invisible shroud. As she navigated the dark corridors, Lily's flashlight revealed the remnants of the manor's former grandeur. Tattered curtains hung limply from broken windows, and the once fine furniture was covered in a thick layer of dust. It didn't take long for her to find Jake's abandoned backpack in one of the upstairs bedrooms. Inside, she discovered the dusty old diary that Jake had found. Lily sat down on the edge of the bed and began to read the diary. Eliza's words painted a vivid picture of a life filled with sorrow and terror. She learned that Eliza had been the daughter of the manor's original owners and had vanished mysteriously a century ago. Eliza's final entries described a sense of impending doom and a presence that seemed to watch her every move. As Lily read through the diary, she noticed that a section of the floorboard beneath the bed appeared to be loose. Curiosity piqued. She pried it open and discovered a hidden compartment containing a silver locket. The locket radiated a strange, malevolent energy, sending a shiver down her spine as she held it in her hand. That night, back in the safety of her own home, Lily began to experience vivid nightmares. In her dreams, she found herself wandering through an endless, dark forest. The trees loomed over her like ancient sentinels, their gnarled branches reaching out as if to grasp her. The air was thick with an eerie fog, making it difficult to see more than a few steps ahead. The only sound was the rustling of leaves underfoot and the distant, haunting howl of a wolf. As Lily ventured deeper into the forest, she stumbled upon a clearing bathed in an unnatural, silvery light. In the center of the clearing stood an old, decrepit house that seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy. Its windows were dark and empty, like the eyes of a long-forgotten ghost. Despite her fear, Lily felt an inexplicable pull towards the house and found herself walking up the creaky steps to the front door. The door creaked open on its own, revealing a dimly lit hallway. Lily hesitated for a moment, her heart pounding in her chest, before stepping inside. The air inside the house was cold and damp, and the walls were lined with faded portraits of unfamiliar faces. Each portrait seemed to follow her with their eyes as she moved deeper into the house. Lily entered a grand, dimly lit room where a tall, shadowy figure stood by the fireplace. The figure turned to face her, and Lily's breath caught in her throat. The figure's face was obscured by darkness, but its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. "You have come," the figure said in a voice that echoed through the room. "I have been waiting for you, Lily." Fear gripped her, but she managed to muster the courage to speak. "Who are you? What do you want from me?" The figure stepped closer, and as it did, the shadows that obscured its face began to dissipate, revealing a visage that was both familiar and terrifying. It was a twisted, distorted version of herself. "I am your fears, your doubts, and your regrets," the figure whispered, "and I will haunt you until you confront and conquer me." Lily's eyes widened as the realization sank in. This nightmare was a manifestation of her inner turmoil, a battle she had to face within herself. Determined to overcome her fears, she took a deep breath and faced the figure head-on. Story 3. The Final Farewell. With the locket in hand, Lily delved into the annals of history, determined to uncover the truth behind the curse that had plagued her family for generations. Hours turned into days as she combed through dusty tomes and fragile manuscripts in the town's old library. The story that emerged was one of sorrow and injustice. Eliza, a young woman of immense beauty and wisdom, had been falsely accused of witchcraft during a time when fear and superstition ruled the land. She had been wrongfully condemned and executed in the courtyard of the manor, her life cut short in a brutal display of ignorance and cruelty. Her spirit, bound by the pain and betrayal she had suffered, had lingered in the manor, waiting for someone to understand her plight and set her free. Lily realized that to break the curse and release Eliza's tormented spirit, she needed to return the locket, Eliza's cherished possession, to her grave. With this newfound knowledge, she sought the counsel of Father Thomas, a kindly priest known for his wisdom and compassion. Father Thomas agreed to accompany Lily on her perilous journey, offering his support and blessing. On a moonlit night, the air thick with anticipation and the whispers of the past, Lily and Father Thomas made their way to the manor. The once grand estate now stood in a state of disrepair, its walls crumbling and its windows shattered. As they approached the courtyard, a chill ran down Lily's spine, and she could feel the weight of history pressing upon her. With trembling hands, Lily placed the locket on Eliza's grave, a simple stone marker inscribed with the words, "Here lies Eliza, wronged and forgotten." As the locket touched the cold earth, a soft, ethereal glow enveloped the grave. A ghostly figure emerged, delicate and translucent, yet unmistakably Eliza. "Thank you," Eliza whispered, her voice like the rustle of autumn leaves. "You have freed me from my torment." Tears filled Lily's eyes as she watched the spirit of Eliza dissipate into the night, her soul finally at peace. The ground beneath them trembled, and the manor began to crumble, its very foundations disintegrating as the curse was lifted. Father Thomas placed a comforting hand on Lily's shoulder. "You have done a great service, my child. Eliza can now rest in peace." As they turned to leave the ruins of the manor behind, Lily's heart felt lighter, as if a great burden had been lifted. But just as she was about to step into the safety of the woods, she noticed a figure standing at the edge of the clearing. It was Jake, his eyes filled with a haunted look. "Jake!" Lily called out, her voice wavering with uncertainty. Jake stepped forward, the shadows of the trees casting eerie patterns across his face. "Lily, I've been waiting for you." Confusion and fear gripped Lily as she took a hesitant step towards him. "What do you mean? Why are you here?" Jake's gaze was intense, his expression a mixture of sorrow and determination. "I couldn't rest, Lily. Not after what happened. The curse may be lifted, but there are still unresolved matters." Eliza wasn't the only one wronged. A sense of dread settled over Lily as she realized that their journey was far from over. Jake's presence meant that there were deeper layers to the mystery, hidden truths yet to be uncovered. With a heavy heart, Lily knew she couldn't turn back now. She had to see this through to the end, for the sake of her family and for Jake. Together, they ventured deeper into the woods, guided by the pale light of the moon and the echoes of the past. The path ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty, but Lily's resolve was unshakable. She had faced her fears and conquered them, and now she would confront the remaining shadows that lingered over her family's history. As they walked, Jake began to recount the story of his own connection to the curse. His ancestors had been the ones to falsely accuse Eliza, driven by greed and a desire for power. Jake's family had profited from the land that was wrongfully taken from Eliza, and their wealth had been built on the foundation of lies and betrayal. The guilt and shame of his lineage had haunted Jake, and he had spent years trying to atone for the sins of his forebears. Lily listened intently, her heart aching for the pain that Jake carried. She realized that their destinies were intertwined, bound together by the threads of history. To truly break free from the past, they needed to uncover the full truth and seek redemption. Their journey led them to an ancient grove, hidden deep within the forest. The trees here were old and twisted, their branches forming a protective canopy overhead. In the center of the grove stood a stone altar, weathered by time, but still bearing the marks of ancient rituals. Jake knelt before the altar, his voice trembling as he spoke. "This is where it all began, the site of the original betrayal. We need to make amends, to cleanse this place of the darkness that has tainted it for so long." With Father Thomas's guidance, they performed a ritual of forgiveness and purification, calling upon the spirits of the land to bear witness. The air around them crackled with energy as they offered their heartfelt apologies and sought to right the wrongs of the past. As the ritual reached its climax, a brilliant light enveloped the grove, and the air was filled with the sound of distant, melodic laughter. The spirits of those who had been wronged, including Eliza, appeared before them, their faces serene and filled with gratitude. "You have done well," Eliza's spirit said, her voice gentle and soothing. "The curse is truly lifted, and we can all rest in peace now." Tears streamed down Lily's face as she felt a profound sense of relief and closure. The spirits began to fade, their forms dissolving into the light. Jake stood beside her, his expression one of quiet resolve. "It's over," he said softly. "We finally put an end to the cycle of pain and suffering." As they made their way back to the village, the first light of dawn began to break through the trees, casting a warm, golden glow over the landscape. The future was uncertain, but Lily and Jake knew that they had the strength to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They had forged a bond through their shared journey, one that would endure as they worked together to build a brighter, more hopeful future. The past had been laid to rest, and with it, the shadows that had haunted their lives. Now, they could look forward to a new beginning, free from the weight of history and filled with the promise of healing and renewal. As dawn's first light bathed the landscape in a warm, golden glow, Lily and Jake knew that their journey had brought them not only closure, but also a newfound bond. With hope in their hearts and the promise of a brighter future ahead, they turned towards the village, ready to face whatever came next. Lily took a moment to reflect on the incredible journey they had undertaken, the challenges they had overcome, and the healing they had achieved. She knew that their story was one of resilience, redemption, and the enduring power of the human spirit. Thank you for joining us on this remarkable journey. If you enjoyed the story, please like and follow our channel for more captivating tales and adventures. Your support means the world to us, and we look forward to sharing many more stories with you in the future.